The story begins not on earth, but in the gleaming halls of Olympus. Ambrosia flows like wine. The air shimmers with divine light. Gods gather in joy to celebrate the wedding of Peleus, greatest of mortal heroes, and silver-footed Thetis, most beautiful of the sea nymphs. Golden tables groan under celestial feasts. Muses sing of love triumphant over fate. But even in joy, the seeds of catastrophe take root. Eris comes uninvited, goddess of discord, her face twisted with spite. From her robe she draws a golden apple, flawless in its beauty. Inscribed on its surface, for the fairest. It rolls between three goddesses, and in that moment, Olympus holds its breath. A single choice will ignite the war of a generation, and the gods will not watch from afar. This is how it begins, with beauty, pride, and an apple that doomed the world. If you've been here before, thank you. Truly. You're the reason we keep telling stories like this, stories of gods, warriors, and the fragile line between fate and choice. If you're new here, and you've made it this far, don't just disappear like a shadow at sunset. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. And if you still won't subscribe, we'd like to know why. Tell us in the comments. What's holding you back? We're here every week, breathing life into forgotten legends. And if these stories mean something to you, let us know. Because silence? That's how legends die. The story opens not on earth, but in the gleaming halls of Olympus, where ambrosia flows like wine and the very air shimmers with divine light. The halls are vast, carved not of stone, but of eternal brilliance. Marble that breathes, columns that sing with the wind of the heavens. Here time does not pass, it unfurls like music. And in this moment the gods gather not for war, but for celebration. The date is unknowable in mortal calendars, but in the cosmic rhythm of myth, it falls during the age of heroes, just before the world begins to fracture. They are gathered to witness a rare and fateful union. Peleus, greatest of mortal heroes, weds silver-footed Thetis, daughter of the sea. He born of kings. She born of tide and foam. A match forged not in love, but in prophecy, for it had been foretold that Thetis would bear a son greater than his father, and the gods, fearing rivalry, bound her to mortal fate. Still, joy fills the high halls of Olympus. Golden tables groan under celestial feasts, roasted nectar birds, ambrosial fruits glowing with divine fire, chalices filled with moon-silvered wine. The muses sing not dirges, but hymns of love triumphant over fate, their voices weaving threads of starlight through the dome of heaven. Laughter echoes from Apollo's lyre, while Hera, queen of heaven, presides with cold majesty beside Zeus, the thunderer whose eyes watch all. But even in this moment of joy, the seeds of catastrophe take root. Into the feast steps one who was not invited. One whose presence is never welcome, yet never absent where pride and beauty converge. Eris, goddess of discord. She comes not as a fury, nor in rags but cloaked in twilight silk, her face beautiful in the way that storms are beautiful, unpredictable, ruinous. Her eyes gleam with ancient spite. She has watched empires rise and fall from the margins. She has been forgotten and she has not forgotten. While the gods toast peace and unity, Eris draws from her robes a single object, a golden apple, perfect in its symmetry, flawless in its temptation. Its surface gleams like the sun on still water, and upon it, inscribed in letters no mortal hand could carve, "To the fairest." She does not speak. She does not need to. With a smile like the edge of a knife, she tosses the apple. It arcs through perfumed air, slow as thought, sharp as destiny, and lands between three goddesses. Hera, queen of heaven, who rules beside Zeus and to whom all oaths are sworn. Athena, gray-eyed goddess of wisdom and war, born from Zeus's own skull, guide of heroes, breaker of armies. Aphrodite, golden goddess of love and desire, whose glance sets cities ablaze and brings kings to ruin. Each sees the apple. Each believes it was meant for her. Each steps forward. Tension slices the divine air like a blade. The laughter dies. The muses fall silent. They turn to Zeus, the lord of Olympus, to judge. To choose between wife, daughter, and seductress. But the king of the gods is wise if nothing else. He has not ruled heaven for eons without cunning. To choose would be to ignite war among immortals. To favor one would be to earn the hatred of the other two, and Zeus has no wish to quarrel with the forces of war, of wisdom, or of love. So he refuses. Let a mortal decide, he declares. Let one untouched by divine politics choose with unclouded eyes. And thus the wheel begins to turn. The apple lies gleaming. The goddesses burn with pride. A shepherd prince unknown, unready, and already doomed will be summoned. This was the first spark. The war, the glory, the ruin, begins here. The apple, simple, perfect, deadly, has rolled the gods into division. Now it must roll further, down to earth. Zeus, unwilling to pass judgment and risk the wrath of Hera, Athena, or Aphrodite, chooses exile for the burden. He turns to one far removed from the politics of Olympus, a mortal with no allegiance, no knowledge of divine ambition. Let him judge, he says. Let the son of Troy decide. His name is Paris. But he does not know it yet. Far from Troy's marble towers, a young man tends sheep under wide skies. He moves with grace, his beauty startling dark curls, eyes like red wine, hands gentle enough to soothe wild beasts. To the world he is a shepherd. But blood tells another story. He is the abandoned prince of Troy, born of King Priam and Queen Hecuba, doomed by prophecy to bring ruin to his city. At birth, the seers spoke in dread, "This child will destroy Troy." Unwilling to kill their own son, the king and queen ordered the infant cast out on Mount Ida to die by exposure, to vanish from fate. But fate would not be cheated. The boy was found, raised by shepherds. And now grown to manhood, beautiful as a young god, he is about to be claimed by the story he was born into. The messenger of the gods arrives not alone. Behind him, veiled in softened radiance, stand three goddesses. Hera, majestic and commanding. Athena, sharp-eyed and still. Aphrodite, radiant and smiling. They stand before the shepherd prince, each cloaked in glory that could blind mortal eyes. But they veil their brilliance, for he must live to choose. They speak without kindness. Choose, they command. Which of us is the fairest? Choose truly, mortal, for what you decide will echo forever. And then, they begin to bribe him. She steps forward first, proud as empire, voice ringing like bronze. Choose me, she says, and you shall rule the world. Kingdoms shall rise at your name, from the sunrise to the darkening west. Thrones shall bow, empires kneel. Your dominion will stretch over all men. She offers power, golden cities, armies in perfect formation, an empire written across the earth. Choose me, says the daughter of Zeus, and you shall be wiser than any king. Victorious in battle, unmatched in strategy. Your name shall be sung wherever courage is honored. No enemy shall outwit you. No spear shall pierce you. No glory shall surpass yours. She offers wisdom and victory, the praise of poets, the legend of an immortal mind in a mortal frame. She simply smiles. Her beauty is not grandeur or sharpness, it is something deeper, something ancient. The ache behind longing, the madness behind love. Choose me, she whispers, and I will give you the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. Helen of Sparta, she who surpasses all mortal women as the sun outshines the stars, shall be yours. And in her arms, you will know joy beyond imagining. She offers desire not just the form of beauty but its power, the kind that topples cities and blinds reason. His judgment is not wisdom, not caution, not foresight. It is the burning pulse of youth and hunger. He reaches out not for crown or sword but for the goddess whose promise has already taken root in his heart. He gives the golden apple to Aphrodite, and in that moment the fate of nations is sealed. They do not protest, they do not plead, but their hate for Troy and for Paris becomes eternal. The scales are tipped, the wheel begins to turn faster. And far away in Sparta, a queen named Helen wakes, and does not yet know that the gods have set their gaze upon her. Thus ends the judgment. The boy-turned-prince has chosen desire over destiny, and Troy's doom has begun with a smile. The choice has been made. Paris, shepherd prince of Troy, now revealed in truth as son of King Priam, stands beneath the fading sky of Mount Ida with a golden apple no longer in hand, but in history. Aphrodite's promise burns in his blood like sweet fire. Her words echo in him not as memory but as command. The love of the most beautiful woman in the world is his reward. But love, when touched by gods, does not walk, it hunts. With divine favor guiding his every step, Paris begins his journey across the wine-dark sea. He travels not as a vagabond nor as a suitor, but as a royal envoy of Troy, cloaked in diplomacy, laden with gifts, and carrying the silent weight of prophecy. Sparta lies before him like a jewel on a golden clasp. There, behind stone walls and olive groves, dwells Helen, daughter of Zeus, wife of red-haired Menelaus, the sun among mortal women. Paris arrives with olive branches and courteous speech. He is received as one noble guest receives another. For in that age the laws of hospitality are sacred. The hearth is inviolable. A guest is a gift of the gods. Menelaus, king of Sparta, greets him with honor. He shows him the treasures of his house, the bounty of his land, and most proudly of all, the wife he won years before, Helen. She does not enter the room like other women. She arrives the way twilight does, quietly, unannounced, and everything changes. Her beauty is not confined to face or figure. It radiates like the sun on still water. She is born of Zeus and a swan's egg, mortal in name only. Her presence makes warriors stumble in their speech. Women weep without knowing why. She has borne a daughter, has lived as queen for years, yet time has not dared lay its hand upon her. When Paris looks upon her, Aphrodite's spell awakens. The goddess does not speak aloud, but she does not need to. She clouds his judgment with honeyed fog. She stirs something ancient in Helen, not lust, not affection, but a confusion of longing and memory that does not belong to her. Their glances are stolen, then held too long. A sentence lingers in the air a moment too many. A silence deepens rather than breaks. Their connection does not bloom like a rose, it coils like smoke, slow and inescapable. Paris speaks in low tones, deferent yet sure. Helen listens with a heart she cannot recognize. The more she resists, the stronger the fascination grows. Her steps take her to places she does not mean to go. Her dreams fill with sea spray and foreign shores. Menelaus, bound by duty and faith, departs for Crete. A family funeral calls him across the water. He leaves Paris in his care. The laws of Xenia's sacred guest friendship demand nothing less. Paris remains, and Helen does not flee. In the darkness of night, while Sparta sleeps beneath stars indifferent to sin or ceremony, Paris and Helen slip away. Aphrodite guides their steps. Love, divine and ruinous, leads them through shadowed halls and down to the waiting ships. They do not leave alone. Gold and silk, spices and ivory, gifts and treasures from Menelaus's hall are taken with them. They do not run in fear. They glide as if fate itself had prepared the way. Behind them they leave a kingdom betrayed, a hearth broken, a vow shattered not by swords, but by stolen glances and divine whispers. The sails rise to meet the wind. The sea carries them east, toward Troy, toward glory, toward ruin. And in Sparta's silent halls, a king returns to find ash where trust once burned. His cry does not echo through palace corridors. It pierces the very bones of the earth. Not for love lost, but for honor torn. For the sacred laws ground beneath a Trojan heel. In that moment, Menelaus becomes more than a wronged husband. He becomes the spark of vengeance. And vengeance gathers its army. The gods have woven the thread. Helen of Sparta, daughter of Zeus, queen of the household, stands at the edge of the hearth, a hearth that has kept her warm through winters, held her daughter's first steps, welcomed the love of a husband who trusted her beyond doubt. But tonight trust is a shallow thing. Paris waits in the shadows of the palace, cloaked not only in night, but in the shimmering influence of Aphrodite. The goddess does not speak aloud. She whispers through blood, through breath, through thought itself. Take her now, she murmurs. The world will change. Let it. The moon hangs heavy over Sparta. Its silver light softens the paths that were once bright with celebration and guarded by honor. Paris moves silently, each footstep guided by hands no mortal can see. Behind him are servants carrying what they have been ordered to take, not only Helen, but the wealth of a king, bronze vessels, carved ivory, embroidered robes, ingots of gold, fine woven tapestries. This is no elopement. This is a robbery draped in roses. Helen walks beside him, barefoot and silent. Her eyes burn with the knowledge that cannot be named. The spell upon her heart is not hers to remove. Her body walks forward, her past crumbles behind. In that moment they cross the threshold. And the laws of guest friendship, ancient, sacred, inviolable, are shattered. The guest has stolen not only the host's most prized possession, but his name, his honor, and the peace of his house. The ships are waiting in the bay. Black sails ripple in the sea breeze like omens. No guards call out. No alarms are raised. Aphrodite has veiled them in stillness. By dawn they are gone. Sparta awakens without a queen. Red-haired Menelaus, king of Sparta, arrives with sandals still dusty from his journey, robes still bearing the scent of morning. But what greets him is not the comfort of home. It is emptiness. He calls out. No answer. He steps into the Megaron, the Hall of Kings. The fire is cold. The seats are bare. The wealth he once showed with pride has vanished. And Helen is gone. His voice, when it rises, does not echo within the stone walls. It howls through history. Not for lust. Not for heartbreak. But for the violation of sacred law. A guest has taken what was not his to touch. A guest has used kindness as a blade. A guest has broken the oldest oath known to gods and men. What has been broken cannot be forgiven. In that hour, a fire takes root in the heart of Menelaus. One that will not die until Troy itself burns. The halls of Sparta echo with the silence of betrayal. Menelaus, red-haired and resolute, stands among the empty seats of his court. A king with no queen, a husband with no vow unbroken, a host whose hearth has been defiled. But what was done in darkness will not go unavenged. He does not curse the heavens. He does not weep. Instead he remembers. He remembers the oath of Tyndareus. Before Helen chose him, she had been the object of desire for all the princes and war kings of Greece. Her beauty had drawn suitors like moths to flame, each ready to kill or die for her hand. To prevent bloodshed, her mortal father, Tyndareus, had demanded a vow. That all who sought Helen would swear to honor her choice, and if ever she were taken from her rightful husband, they would all rise as one to restore her no matter the cost. They swore it. Not lightly. Not in jest. And now the oath must be fulfilled. Menelaus does not ride alone. He turns to his brother Agamemnon, king of golden Mycenae, a man whose power surpasses all others in Greece. A warlord with iron in his blood, his eyes dark with calculation, his hand never far from his sword. Agamemnon does not hesitate. This is more than vengeance, this is a chance to unite all Achaea under one banner. He answers not only for blood but for glory. The kings begin to gather. From Ithaca comes Odysseus, clever as Prometheus, patient as stone, a man who speaks softly and sees what others miss. He had tried to escape the call, plowing salt into his fields, feigning madness, but when they placed his infant son in the furrow's path, his hand stayed the blade. He joins, unwilling but bound. From Salamis comes Ajax, son of Telamon, a towering storm of a man, quiet in speech but unmatched in battle. He towers above all others. A wall of muscle and bronze, a living engine of war. From Pylus comes Nestor, old as the hills, voice weathered like driftwood, mind sharp with memory. He does not fight for Helen. He fights because he has seen empires rise and fall, and knows when the wheel is turning again. From Argos, Tiryns, Rhodes, and Thessaly the summons spreads like fire. Boats are carved, sails stitched, armies formed. 1,000 kings and warlords begin their march, each bringing ships, spears, sons. The fields of Aulis swell with the might of all Greece. The host of hosts gathers. Wooden ships line the shore, pulled from every coast. Flags rise, emblems of lions, serpents, bulls, suns. Bronze armor flashes beneath the sun like waves. Spears are sharpened. Shields painted. Horses broken. The air tastes of iron and salt. The men joke, shout, drink, weep. They are not yet at war, but the scent of it hangs above them. And at the heart of it all, Agamemnon stands not just as brother to the wronged king, but now as high king of the Achaeans, commander of this tide of blood and bronze. Helen is gone. But she will not remain so. An oath has been broken. Now 10,000 oaths will be kept. The drums of war begin to beat. And across the Aegean, the towers of Troy gleam in the sunlight, unaware that a sea of fire has begun to rise. The ships arrived like a rising tide. One by one they struck the shore, hulls scraping stone, sails folding like wings of exhausted birds. The warriors poured forth like flame, bronze flashing, shields shining, eyes fixed on the city beyond the plain. Troy, crowned in towers, ringed by walls so tall even the gods watched in awe. The city of pride, wealth, prophecy. And now the stage for ruin. They came to burn it in a month. They stayed for 9 years. At first it was war as poets dream. Heroes in gleaming armor. Duels at dawn. Feats to be sung and carved into memory. But time does not favor glory. Time devours it. Seasons passed like wind across a battlefield. Spring bled into summer, into frost-bitten mornings, into mud-soaked years. And still the city stood. Each day the Greeks formed ranks at dawn, row after row of tired men, faces cracked by salt and sun. They shouted their war cries, beat their shields, surged against the gates, and fell back before nightfall. Troy held. Not by brute force alone, but by the strength of its walls, by the cunning of its defenders, by the endurance of a city that refused to yield. Within those walls, Priam reigned old but unbroken. Beside him, his sons warriors bred for this war. Hector, the shield of Troy. Paris, the spark and stain of it. And others many who would not live to see peace. Beyond the gates, the Greeks rotted in their own legend. Their armor dulled. Their songs grew silent. Food ran thin. Plague crept through tents like smoke. Heroes who had once laughed at death began to speak in whispers of home. Some grew old in their armor. Others died young, names swallowed by dust. Those who remained learned to endure, not to win. Ajax still towered in battle, a wall of muscle and rage, but even he no longer roared as loudly. Odysseus still schemed and counseled, but with a weight behind his eyes that no wisdom could lift. Nestor, once proud, now moved with the slow grace of memory. Only Achilles remained untouched, as if youth and wrath preserved him from rot. But he fought only when he wished, and for reasons that were his alone. At night, the sea whispered to the men in their tents, of wives who had remarried, of sons who no longer remembered their faces, of homes reclaimed by vines, names erased from hearthstones. Some wept, some drank. Most simply stared at the fire, eyes vacant, waiting for a dawn that would bring more death and no answer. War had come not like a storm but like a drought, not in thunder but in slow starvation. And still Troy stood, the towers unfallen, the gates unbroken, the curse not yet complete. War had not broken the Greeks, not the spears, not the gates of Troy, not the long years beneath the sun. But now something else began to take them, not by sword but by breath. It began in whispers. A few men fevered, a few animals fallen. A sickness that clung like smoke. The air thickened. The heat swelled. And by the third morning the reek of death lay over the camp like fog. The dogs died first. Their bodies twisted in the dust, eyes glazed, tongues swollen. Then the mules, coughing blood, collapsing mid-step. Then the men. They died not in battle but in silence. One by one, bodies blackened with rot, lips cracked from thirst, skin peeling as if flame had licked their bones. The fires burned day and night, not for warmth, not for cooking, but for burning the dead. The smoke choked the sky. Ash settled on armor. Priests wept in the dust. No man could sleep. Every cough became a death sentence. Panic crept through the tents like a second disease. Warriors who had faced 100 duels now trembled at the sound of a sneeze. Commanders covered their faces with cloth. Sacrifices were offered, first sheep, then oxen, then gold, but still the death came. The camp, once a place of song and iron, became a graveyard ringed by funeral pyres. And then someone remembered the name. Chryses, a priest of Apollo, a father. He had come weeks before, dressed in robes, carrying sacred tokens, begging for his daughter back. Chryseis taken by Agamemnon as a war prize. Taken like a trophy. Taken without honor. The priest had offered ransom generous, holy, proper. He had bowed before kings, spoken gently, appealed to their gods. But Agamemnon had laughed in his face. "Your daughter will grow old in my bed," he had said. "Leave before I make you weep for more than her." And so Chryses had left. But not in silence. He had raised his hands to the sky and cried not to men but to Apollo, god of plague, god of light, god of far-shot arrows. And Apollo had heard. He descended from Olympus not as music but as fire. His bow sang not with notes but with death. Every arrow loosed was a sickness. Every shaft buried in the dust a funeral bell. He walked unseen through the tents, his bronze shining, his face terrible, and the plague walked with him. The Greeks now knew. This was no random fever. This was vengeance. They had wronged a priest. They had mocked the god. And now the god was watching them die like animals. The plague burns through the camp like fire over dry grass. No cure is found. No sleep. No end. At last they gather. The warlords of the Achaeans, kings and captains, men of renown and ruin, meet in open council near the sea, where the smoke of the pyres is thinnest. They gather not for strategy but for survival. At their center stands Calchas, priest and seer, servant of Apollo, his eyes hollow with knowledge he does not wish to speak. He says nothing at first. Then a voice rises clear, hard, young. "Achilles, son of Thetis, lord of the Myrmidons, he who has not yet bent to plague or king, Speak the truth, Calchas, he says. Speak what you know. I will protect you. Only then does Calchas open his mouth. The god is angry, he says. He walks among us, not in wrath without cause but in justice. All fall silent. It is because of Chrysis, the seer continues, the daughter of Chryses, priest of Apollo. She was taken. Not just taken, dishonored. Her father came in peace and he was scorned. The god demands she be returned. The silence hardens into tension. Agamemnon, seated high among the kings, does not hide his fury. His hand tightens around his scepter. His eyes burn. So it is I who must give up my prize? I who lose while others feast? Fine. Let her go if it must be. But I will not be left empty-handed. If I lose Chrysis, then I will take another, perhaps yours, Achilles, perhaps Briseis. And the air turns to iron. Achilles rises, slow and terrible, like a storm cresting the sea. You drunken coward, he spits. You shameless dog, fat on others' blood. You take and take, yet you dare threaten me? His hand moves to the hilt of his sword. The blade sings as it leaves the sheath. Every man holds his breath. But he does not strike. She arrives like wind between moments. Athena. Gray-eyed, silent, unseen by all but Achilles. She stands before him, eyes calm, hand raised. No, she says. Strike him, and the war ends not with Troy's fall, but with your shame. He breathes once, deeply, and returns the sword to its scabbard. I will not kill you, Agamemnon, Achilles says, voice bitter as salt. But hear this, I will no longer fight for you. You will beg for my return before this war ends. And I will watch your pride burn beside your ships. He turns, cloak whipping the dust, and walks into exile. The Myrmidons follow him. The might of Greece walks away, not defeated but enraged. And as Chrysis is returned to her father, and Apollo lifts the plague from the camp, the war changes shape. No longer man against city. Now man against man. And the gods watch. No battle horns sound. No enemies approach. But still, something is taken that can never be returned. The sun rises quietly over the beach. It casts long shadows across the ships, across the camp, across the tent of Achilles, who no longer walks among the warriors, who no longer fights, who no longer speaks. And yet, even in silence, he is heard. Two men approach his tent. Not enemies. Not strangers. But heralds. Talthybius and Eurybates, loyal to Agamemnon, heavy with shame. They do not knock. They do not shout. They enter with heads bowed, carrying out an order they do not believe in but cannot refuse. Briseis sits quietly within the tent. Not chained. Not weeping. She has already heard. No words are spoken between her and Achilles. None are needed. She rises. Not as a captive. Not as property. But as a woman walking into the part of the story written for her by gods and kings. She leaves behind the tent, the warmth, the name Achilles gave her. She follows the heralds, each step heavier than steel. No warrior stops them. No soldier lifts a hand. The camp watches. And Achilles remains seated. His gaze does not follow her. His hands do not move. But in his chest something closes. It is not love that is taken. It is not possession. It is honor. That which cannot be returned. That which gives shape to a name. Agamemnon does not take Briseis as a lover. He takes her as a message. I am king. You are not. And with that act, the final thread snaps. Achilles does not return to the war. He does not ride. He does not advise. He does not sing. He watches the sea. 4 days. 4 nights. He watches. And the Greeks begin to fall. Achilles sits alone. No sword at his side. No Myrmidons at his back. only the sea rising and falling like the rhythm of breath. And he weeps, not loud, not violent. His sorrow is heavy like iron, like memory, like loss. He does not call her name aloud. He does not need to. She feels it from the depths of the world. Thetis, daughter of the sea, ancient before mortals first built walls, rises from beneath the surf like a whisper. Water clings to her like silk. Her face is carved in grief even before she reaches him. My child, she says, born to sorrow greater than your strength. You are fated for glory and for death. But this is not the way. Achilles does not answer with words. He looks at her, eyes red, pride shattered, honor stripped. She kneels beside him. The sand does not cling to her. The air bends around her. He has taken what cannot be taken. He has shamed me. He has taken Briseis not for love but to break me. Thetis does not speak comfort. She listens. And when he is done, she does what no mortal mother can do. She rises. I will go to Olympus. I will speak to Zeus himself. Setting, Olympus, the palace of the gods. Thetis climbs the winds like a swan in storm. Upward through cloud and sky, into the halls of Olympus where time does not move as it does on earth, and light comes not from fire but from presence. She does not knock. She enters. And Zeus, father of gods, turns his gaze. She does not bow. She kneels. Grant me this favor, father of storm. The Greeks have dishonored my son Achilles, your grandson, through me. Make them pay. Tilt the war in Troy's favor, so the Greeks learn what they have lost. Let Agamemnon suffer. Let them beg for the warrior they cast aside. Zeus is silent. He hears her. He knows what her words mean. To grant her request is to unbalance the world. To begin a path that leads to fire and blood, to the death of heroes and the end of Troy. But still he nods. He lowers his brow, the weight of heaven behind it. And the world beneath Olympus begins to tremble. In the halls of the gods, Hera watches. She knows what Thetis has asked, and what Zeus has given. And now the gods themselves will divide. Some for Troy, some for Greece. All bound by pride and fate and vengeance. The war is no longer mortal. The divine has entered the field. The gods have moved. The war, once stagnant and bitter, now shifts under Zeus's gaze. And as the tide turns against the Greeks, the Trojans surge forward with renewed fire. At their head, a figure gleaming in armor, though not one born to lead. Paris, the prince of Troy, the cause of it all, the spark in the straw. He rides beneath the walls not with vengeance in his eyes, but with a showman's grace. He shines but not like Hector. His armor gleams but it is untested. His bow is slung across his shoulder untouched. His face is proud but beneath it something fragile flickers. He steps forward and shouts across the field. Menelaus, red-haired king of Sparta. You call me thief, come take her back. I challenge you to single combat. Let this war end between us two. One man's death for the peace of 10,000. The Greeks stir. The Trojans murmur. But before anyone answers, one voice cuts through the clamor sharper than steel. Hector. His brother. His foil. His rebuke. Hector does not shout. His words are low but they strike with force. You are beautiful, Paris. The women say so. The bards sing it. But I say you are nothing but a burden. You let others fight for your choices. You dress for war but run when it calls you. Paris lowers his gaze. Would you were never born, Hector continues, or born to another house. You shame our name. The field holds its breath. Paris does not run. He does not answer with anger. Instead, for the first time in 9 years, he answers with steel. You are right, Hector, he says. The shame is mine. But I will bear it and I will answer it. I challenged Menelaus and I will face him. For Helen. For Troy. For my name. And something in Hector's face softens if only slightly. Then may the gods judge fairly, Hector replies. Messengers ride between the lines. The challenge is accepted. Menelaus, steady and cold, readies his spear not as a husband but as a soldier. He says nothing to the men beside him. His eyes rest only on Paris. The armies do not clash this day. They gather in silence. A field cleared, the ground marked. The war will pause. For a moment. For the sake of honor. And both sides, for the first time in nearly a decade, watch not thousands, but two prepare to settle the fate of Helen and all that followed her. The armies gather below, two nations stilled. A duel to decide the war. To decide her. But Helen does not watch from the battlefield. She watches from above. She stands in the tower, the wind stirring her veil, her eyes fixed on the field where Paris prepares to face Menelaus. The very sight of the Spartan king, once husband, once home, stirs something deep and aching in her chest. She does not flinch. She does not cry. But she does not look away. Beside her stand the elders of Troy, white-haired men too old to fight, yet too proud to leave. They speak softly among themselves, eyes tracing her face more than the duel below. One says, "There is no shame in this war beginning for such a woman. Her beauty is not of this world. She walks like flame clothed in skin." And then Priam, king of Troy, father of 50 sons, turns to her. His voice does not carry judgment. "Come here, child. Sit beside me. Tell me, who are these men, these Greeks that march for you? Name them if you know them. Speak what you remember." Helen lowers her gaze. She knows them all. She names them not as enemies but as ghosts. There is Agamemnon, lord of men. He moves like thunder. And there that is Odysseus, the clever one. His eyes see what others miss. There Ajax, a mountain in bronze. Her voice is steady, but within her, something breaks. "I wish I had died before I followed Paris here. I brought ruin with me. I am a curse wearing a queen's robes." But Priam does not speak harshly. He looks not at Helen but at the field. "No, child. The gods weave not you." And men walk willingly into the web. Below, Paris lifts his spear. Menelaus waits like stone. And Helen, high above, watches both the man she left, the man she followed, knowing that no matter who falls, her name will echo in songs as both wound and weapon. She presses her hand against the cold stone of the tower wall. And for a moment she wishes to be the wind. Two men step forward and the war falls silent. Menelaus, red-haired king, forged in the courts of Sparta, broad-shouldered and sure-footed, a soldier of sun and discipline. Paris the younger, slender as a reed, soft in the hands, beautiful in armor not yet dulled by blood. The terms are agreed. One will live. One will die. And Helen will belong to the victor. Spears are drawn. Shields lifted. A prayer is murmured to Zeus that he may watch with justice. Paris throws first wild, too fast, driven more by nerves than training. His spear skids from Menelaus's shield, glancing into dust. Menelaus answers with calm fury. His spear drives through Paris's round shield, shattering its rim, slicing his tunic. It draws blood not fatal but enough to change the wind. Paris reels back. Menelaus closes the distance. He grabs Paris by the crest of his helmet, dragging him like a dog across the field, his bronze clattering behind. The gods watch. The Trojans hold their breath. Paris claws at his throat. The strap of the helmet tightens, cutting off air, cutting off dignity. Menelaus raises his sword. A moment away from ending it. And then the strap breaks. Paris slips from the helmet like smoke. Menelaus stands with sword raised high, and nothing beneath it. Paris vanishes. Not into the crowd. not behind the lines. He is gone. Whispers ripple like wind through the Greeks. Trojans stare, unsure if this is a trick or miracle. But it is neither. It is Aphrodite. She does not descend as fire or storm. She simply appears, unseen, unspoken, and claims her favorite. One moment Paris is falling, the next he is in the mist, warm silks beneath him, inside the chambers of his own palace. His wounds vanish. His pride remains broken. High above, Helen still watches. She knows what's happened. A presence stirs behind her. No footstep. No breeze. Just a whisper in her mind. Come. He is waiting. He lies on his bed, radiant in beauty. He calls for you. It is Aphrodite. Helen does not move. Take another form, she answers. Be his wife yourself. Be his slave. Pause. Then colder. Do not test me, mortal. I made you queen. I made you legend. Obey me or I will make you dust. Helen trembles not from fear but fury. She turns from the tower, from the field, from the sky she once prayed to, and walks toward the man who started the war. Paris lies beneath embroidered sheets, smiling with false pride. She stands in the doorway. Her face is quiet. He reaches for her. She does not move. The war continues. The duel is null. Honor is broken. And the gods are not finished. The duel is done. The field lies hushed. The armies wait, Greeks in disbelief, Trojans uncertain, kings balancing on the edge of a decision. For a moment, peace hovers. A breath held between worlds. And the gods gather in Olympus to speak of ending it. Zeus leans back on his throne, thunder behind his eyes. Let the war be done, he says. Paris lives and Helen is returned. Let the Greeks go home with honor. But Hera does not nod. Her face tightens. You would let Troy stand? You would let the thieves of Sparta live untouched, unpunished? No. Let the city burn. Athena, seated near, silent until now, speaks softly. It can be undone. I will see to it. Zeus does not stop her. And so she descends. On the Trojan side, in the long shadow of the walls, sits Pandarus, a bowman, ambitious and hungry for praise. Athena comes to him, not in her own form, but cloaked as another, a warrior, trusted. She leans near and whispers, if you shoot now, the glory is yours. Strike Menelaus. Win the favor of Troy. Let them sing of your shot. He hesitates. She smiles. And so he draws the bow. The arrow sings. It cuts the air like a lie. It strikes Menelaus not to kill but to wound. Enough to stain the truce with blood. Enough to awaken wrath. The Greeks rise. The Trojans reach for weapons. Peace dies before it can be born. From the walls, Helen hears the horn. She does not run. She does not cry. Paris lies inside, half asleep, drowsy with beauty and pride. She turns from the window. The two armies wait in breathless stillness. The duel has ended. Paris lives. Helen is returned, if not willingly then visibly. And for a moment, a thin, impossible moment, peace seems possible. Treaties are being prepared. Goats led for sacrifice. Priests raise their hands in thanks to Zeus. The war, it seems, will end not in fire but in agreement. But the gods do not agree. On Olympus, Zeus speaks. Let it end. Let men go home. Let Troy stand and Helen stay. Hera burns with silence. Athena listens, then speaks without raising her voice. No. And before the silence can deepen, she is gone. Pandarus sits among the Trojans. He has seen the duel. He has seen Paris fall and vanish. He has heard the murmurs, the glory stolen from Troy. He hears another voice now. Not Paris. Not Hector. A stranger, cloaked in a soldier's face, eyes like moonlight through clouds. Athena. She leans in and speaks. Do you seek glory, Pandarus? Shoot now. Strike Menelaus, and they will say your name when Troy is free. He hesitates. Do not waste this hour. And he listens. He takes up his bow-polished horn and tight gut string. He knocks the arrow. And prays. Not to Apollo, but to ambition. The arrow flies. It cuts the air in silence. And finds its mark. Menelaus cries out. The shaft drives through his armor, slicing flesh a clean wound, not fatal, but red enough to stain the ground. Red enough to stain the oath. Red enough to end peace. Agamemnon sees the blood before he hears the cry. He runs to his brother, drops beside him, lifts his cuirass. The blood wells. The rage rises. So this is your honor, Troy? He roars. This is your truth? Your truce. He lifts his spear and with it, his command. To arms? Let them taste what they've broken. And the Greeks answer. Bronze is fastened. Chariots roll. Shields lift like waves. The storm that paused now returns. And this time it will not wait for treaties. Before we continue. To those of you who've stayed with us through gods and blood, oaths and fire, thank you. You see what this war cost. You feel what they carried. But if you've watched this far and still haven't subscribed, why not? Tell us in the comments. We want to know what holds you back, what keeps your voice from joining ours. Because each time someone subscribes, this story lives a little longer. Each time you click, you keep their memory burning like the towers of Troy. So go ahead. Click it. Let's finish this war together. The oath is broken. The truce is ash. And the storm does not creep, it erupts. Thousands move as one. Spears shimmer in the sun. Swords glint like lightning. The sound is not music, not rhythm, it is tearing. Trojan and Greek. Shield against shield. Bronze against bone. No more duels. No more speeches. Only war in its truest form. And from the chaos rises a name like thunder. Diomedes. He is not the tallest. Not the oldest. Not the king. But in this hour he is more than man. Athena walks beside him not in whispers but in presence. She brushes her hand across his helmet. You will know who is mortal and who is not, she says. And you will strike as few men ever have. And so he does. Diomedes wades through the battlefield like flame through dry wood. He does not run. He walks. And men fall around him. One spear breaks, he grabs another. Blood slicks his shield, he grips tighter. A warrior named Achilles offers his life in gold. Diomedes answers with iron. Another, Agastrophus, raises both hands in surrender. He dies before his lips form the plea. There is no mercy. There is only the will of Athena. Arrows whistle. None strike him. Blades clash. None pierce him. He moves like a storm with a name. Even the sons of Troy begin to fear not the host but the man within it. Aeneas steps forward to face him. But even Aphrodite, watching from above, sees danger in this. She descends to protect her son, wraps him in mist, tries to lift him away. But Diomedes sees. And Diomedes strikes. He wounds a goddess. Not deeply. Not to kill. But enough to make Aphrodite scream and flee Olympus in shame. Then Apollo steps between him and Aeneas. And Diomedes lifts his sword. He does not care. He would strike a god. He would tear heaven if it stood between him and victory. Athena smiles. He is more than man for now. But even gods draw lines. Apollo warns once, then hurls him back in a wave of golden fire. The ground cracks where Diomedes lands. His breath leaves him. But still he stands. The battle rages around him. The Greeks press forward behind his fury. And in the wake of his sword, Troy bleeds. The war rages around him. Diomedes does not slow. The spear in his hand is no longer just iron, it is an extension of Athena's will, anointed and absolute. Trojans fall before him, names lost to the dust. He is not counting. He is not hearing. He is only cutting through fate. And then he sees him. Aeneas, son of Anchises, blood of Aphrodite, a prince among the Trojans, and a warrior of more than mortal blood. They clash, steel on steel. Diomedes breaks his shield with one strike, drives the spear through his thigh with the next. Aeneas falls, not dead but broken. He screams, not as a boy, not as a coward but as one watching death arrive too soon. And the gods answer. She appears in the dust, Aphrodite, not in glory, not in wrath, but in terror. She kneels beside her son, arms trembling, lifting him like silk. Her veil shimmers with every tear. Her skin glows like dawn. But Diomedes does not flinch. He sees the goddess and he charges. Athena has unshackled his hand. And he strikes. The blade cuts through the veil, through skin that was never meant for war. Aphrodite screams not with human pain, but with divine rupture. Ichor spills from her wrist, golden, sweet-smelling, radiant. Not blood, not of earth. The scream is heard across the battlefield. She drops Aeneas. She rises, staggered, and flees back to Olympus, cradling the wound like shame. But Aeneas still lies there, bleeding. And Diomedes steps forward again, no fear, no pause. Apollo comes. He does not speak. He does not ask. He commands. Step back, son of Tydeus. You are mortal. He is mine. Diomedes lifts his spear. He would strike a god. He does not stop. So Apollo lifts his hand and the world answers. A blast of golden fire erupts around Aeneas. The earth cracks. The trees bend. And Diomedes is thrown back as if by the breath of a mountain. When he rises, Aeneas is gone, carried in a cloud of light, hidden by a power beyond reach. A mortal has struck the gods, and war has remembered its purpose. The field is soaked, not just with blood but with silence, broken only by the sound of hoofbeats and the cry of iron. And Diomedes still walks among the dead. He has struck Trojans. He has wounded a goddess. He has defied Apollo. But the war has not yet seen its loudest scream. High above, Athena watches. Her shield glows with wisdom and vengeance. She sees what Apollo has done, pulling Aeneas from the grave, shielding Troy's bloodline. And she does not wait. She descends not as mist, not as whisper, but in bronze and fire. Her armor blinds the sun. Her eyes flash behind the plume of her helm. She does not take Diomedes' hand. She takes his sight. Look now, mortal, she says, and see the gods. And suddenly the veil lifts. Now Diomedes sees what no man is meant to see. Deathless feet striking soil without leaving prints. Helms that blaze without sun. Eyes that burn without need for flame. He sees them all and does not blink. Ares is on the field. The god of war. Not strategy. Not wisdom. Not law. Only chaos. He strides beside the Trojans laughing. His shield rings like a forge. His spear trembles with 100 screams. Where Ares walks, warriors rise. Where he points, Greek blood stains the dust. And Diomedes sees him. And Athena says only this. Strike. She rides with him, her chariot beside his, the reins shared. They charge like twin stars through smoke. And Ares turns too late. Diomedes hurls the spear. Not his own. Athena's. Forged of wind and bronze, lit by divine fire. It flies. And it finds its mark. The point drives into Ares' side through immortal flesh. Not enough to kill, but enough to remind him of pain. And the war god screams. Not as men scream. Not as beasts scream. But as something older than sound. A sound that shakes the clouds. A roar that makes the rivers still. That makes Olympus tremble. He rises, clutches his side. Ichor pours. Hot and golden, splattering the earth. He throws his head back and howls. Father, says, look how they strike your son. And with that he vanishes. Not in defeat. In rage. Diomedes watches him go. He does not smile. He does not shout. He simply breathes. And the gods for a moment retreat. Because now the war belongs not to heaven but to man. The gods retreat. They leave the field not with thunder but with shame. Ares, wounded and groaning, returns to Olympus clutching his side. His armor blackened. His pride in ruin. The ichor still dripping down his thigh like golden fire. Behind him, Aphrodite limps, her wrist bound in gauze of cloud, face hidden. And Zeus, the father of gods, lord of storm, waits. He does not greet them. He does not rise. He looks upon them with the silence of mountain peaks. Then speaks. You, daughter, son, this war is not for you. You are chaos and vanity, not fate. His voice cracks the air. Even Olympus listens. You bleed because you forget your place. Let the mortals suffer. That is what they were made for. Ares bows his head. Aphrodite vanishes. And Zeus turns his gaze back to the battlefield. With the gods gone, the Greeks rise. No divine hand restrains them now. Their swords are no longer checked. Their shields no longer feel heavy. Their leaders Agamemnon, Ajax, Idomeneus shout with voices like horn blasts. They do not march. They run. And the Trojans begin to falter. Towers near the camp burn. Flames eat the supply lines, dance along chariots and tents. The sky glows orange. Ash falls like snow. Screams ripple like waves. Greeks fight not just for glory, now they fight with a scent of victory in their mouths. And for a moment, a brief, brutal moment, it seems the war will end at dusk. But dusk does not come yet. And Troy does not fall. Because far behind the walls, a man sharpens his blade. And his name is Hector. The fire still smolders where the battle ended. The wounded groan beneath stretched hides. The dead are piled and counted. The air tastes of copper and wet ash. And Agamemnon sits in silence. The high king of men, lord of 1,000 ships, wears no crown tonight. He stares at the dirt, his cloak damp with sweat, his fingers wrapped in wine he doesn't drink. He hears not the wind, not the night songs, only the numbers. How many chariots shattered? How many heroes fallen? How many more mornings they may not see? Then he speaks. Full. Tired. Let us go. Heads rise. Eyes narrow. Let us gather what remains, and sail home. Let Troy keep its pride. We were not meant to breach these walls. The silence that follows is not empty, it is choked. Ajax clenches his jaw. Nestor bows his head. Men who fought for 9 years suddenly feel their bones. And then a voice cuts through the silence like flint to steel. Diomedes. He stands, his armor dented, his brow unbandaged. I am not yet tired, son of Atreus. I will not leave this shore with my name half spoken. He steps forward not to boast but to remind. We came here for honor. We came here for oaths. If you no longer believe, then believe in us. And beside him rises Odysseus. Cunning-eyed. Calm and cold. There is still work we can do. Let us go into the night. Let us see what Troy dreams while we sharpen blades. The others listen. Even Agamemnon looks up as if remembering what steel feels like. And Nestor nods. Then let us send the best. Torches are lit. Maps unrolled. The night will not rest. Because while kings mourn and armies sleep, 2 men will step into shadow. And carry the fire forward. The night is black. No torches. No armor that shines. Odysseus and Diomedes move like wolves. Low to the ground, blades ready, not speaking. Every breath is measured. Every branch passed without sound. And then a shape, a shadow among shadows. It moves fast but not silent. Too eager, too clumsy, and so they follow. He wears a wolf's pelt on his back, a weasel's eyes in his skull. Dolon, a Trojan, a nobleman's son but not a soldier. He promised Hector that he would bring Greek secrets in exchange for Achilles' horses. He walks quickly, bow slung, dagger bouncing at his side, unaware that he is already marked. Then a sudden hand, a foot swept, a fall into earth. The grass swallows the sound but not the struggle. Dolon thrashes then freezes. A blade at his throat. They do not speak at first. Only breathe over him. Then Odysseus speaks, soft as smoke. You're a long way from home, fox. Dolon begins to shake. He tries to lie then tries to plead. Spare me. Take ransom. My father is rich gold, bronze, horses. But Diomedes leans in. Tell us what you know. And your end will be clean. Dolon nods too fast. He breaks easily. He speaks of the Trojan watch, of unguarded flanks, of sleeping Thracians beyond the river, new allies to Troy. Their king is there. Rhesus. His horses are pure white. His men are tired. Odysseus listens. Diomedes says nothing. Dolon trembles with hope. You promised. You swore. A clean death. And Diomedes stands. No hesitation. No reply. The blade moves once fast and Dolon's voice is gone. His body sinks into the grass. The wind does not notice. The gods do not speak. Only Odysseus quietly. Now we ride east. Let's visit Rhesus before dawn knows we've passed. The grass still bends where Dolon died. But Diomedes and Odysseus do not turn back. They move forward into blacker dark. Toward the Thracians sleeping beneath foreign stars. No song. No speech. Only the crunch of soil, the glint of hidden steel, and the scent of warm horses waiting just beyond the tents. The Thracians have no idea. They sleep beneath Rhesus's banner, a silver crescent on blood-red wool. No sentries. No guard posted. New to Troy's war, they know nothing of men like these. Diomedes enters first. Sword drawn. Eyes open. He moves through the camp like silence made flesh. He does not run. He does not shout. He strikes. One soldier breath caught mid-snore opens his eyes for the last time, and sees nothing but bronze. Then another. Then another. Then a dozen more. Diomedes walks through tents like a god of stillness, his blade clean then red, then clean again. Odysseus waits by the horses. He does not need to kill. Not yet. His job is coming. But still he watches as Diomedes nears the king's tent. Rhesus, son of the river god, lies wrapped in lion furs. A tall man. A proud man. But not fast enough. Diomedes ends him in one stroke. No dream. No warning. No name called. And then they turn to the stables. The horses. White as foam. Eyes like silver coals. Breath like fog in moonlight. Divine creatures, never ridden by enemy hands. Sacred. Untouchable. Until now. Odysseus takes the reins. The horses do not resist. It is as if they already knew. As if fate had whispered in their ears that tonight, they would run beneath different stars. The Greeks leave without echo. No horn. No fire. Just blood in the grass, the flap of empty tents and hoofprints heading west. By the time dawn kisses the horizon, the deed is done. The war has tilted again. In Troy. Troy wakes to silence. And finds its gods have gone. The night held its breath as they rode. Diomedes and Odysseus, silent but for the wind in their cloaks and the thunder of hooves beneath them. Not stolen cattle. Not plundered gold. But something greater. The divine horses of Rhesus white as untouched snow, eyes lit with cold fire, manes glinting beneath the stars. They do not gallop. They glide. Behind them the Thracian camp still bleeds. The river god's son lies in silence. No horns sound. No alarms rise. They had come and gone like a curse. And when they reach the Greek lines, only the stars greet them. A sentry sees first and cannot believe. Then a second, then a third. Soon, all the Argive leaders rise from uneasy sleep. They gather without words, staring at what Odysseus now leads forward by the reins. Not just horses, victory itself made flesh. Nestor, old and wise, steps forward. These are not beasts. These are omens. He places a hand on one flank. The horse does not flinch. The gods are shifting. Let us ride this wind before it changes. But the wind has already changed. In Troy the fires are out. The sun rises red. The morning begins. Thracians dead, allies lost before they even joined the war. And in Hector's chest something breaks and reforms. No more waiting. He calls his captains. He arms the city. He sharpens resolve. The Trojans pour out of the gates. Not in fear. Not in retreat. In fury. Bronze flashes in morning light. Chariots scream across the plain. The sea wind carries their war cries across the sand. The Greeks do not fall easily. But they fall back. Their lines bend. Their courage frays. From behind, the sea offers no retreat. From ahead, the sons of Troy press like fire. They push the Argives back to the very ships that brought them here. What was once a siege now feels like survival. And even as Odysseus and Diomedes sit triumphant, the white horses at their side, they know this war has no center. Only circles. One night's victory. One morning's loss. And always the gods. Watching. The sun rises again. But it does not rise in peace. It climbs behind black smoke, behind burning sails, behind the screams of men caught between spear and sea. The Trojans have not slowed. They come now as waves endless, roaring without pause. And still Achilles does not fight. He sits by the shore, staring into the surf. His armor rests untouched. His sword sleeps. His wrath simmers, cold and slow, not forgotten, only sharpened. He watches as Ajax bleeds, as Diomedes falters, as Odysseus calls for help with hoarse voice. He hears every name shouted in desperation. And still he does not rise. Beside him stands one man who dares not command but pleads. Patroclus. Younger. Gentler. But not weak. His eyes are raw with grief, his tunic stained with ash. He kneels before his friend not in worship, but in heartbreak. If you will not fight, let me. Let me wear your armor. Let me be your shadow on the field. Let them believe it is you. Let that fear hold the line, if only for a moment. Achilles does not speak. He does not rise. He looks at the sea, then at Patroclus. And finally he nods. Not with joy. Not with relief. But like a man surrendering to a future he already mourns. He opens the chest. Lifts the armor once kissed by Hephaestus' fire. He places it in Patroclus' hands piece by piece. And says only, do not chase them to the gates. But the sun is high now. The tide has turned. And the gods are waiting. The wall falls. Not with whispers. Not with time. But with a shout. Hector hurls the first stone. It strikes the gate like thunder, cracks bronze and oak, splits the air itself. Behind him the Trojans rise like flame. Chariots churn the dust. Swords flash like sea light. The wall breaks. The Greeks, once proud behind their fortress of stakes and trench, now stand in open air, exposed, brittle, bare. The ships lie behind them. The sea behind that. There is nowhere left to run. And Hector does not stop. He is no longer just a prince. He is momentum. He is fury made flesh. His spear finds bodies. His eyes find cowards. He presses until the first Greek hull is kissed by fire. Smoke rises. It curls into the sky, black and cruel, visible from every corner of Troy. The ships burn. The vessels that once brought pride now melt into the sand, their sails curling like leaves in flame. In the Greek camp, the high kings shout but no one listens. Agamemnon falters. Menelaus weeps. Even Ajax, the tower of flesh, is driven back step by step. They scream for help. They scream for Achilles. But he does not come. Only one man stands now with armor that glows gold in the sun. But it is not Achilles. It is Patroclus. He straps the greaves. He binds the cuirass. He lifts the helmet, the horsehair plume shadowing his face. And the Myrmidons gather. They see the armor, not the man. They follow. Achilles gave warnings. Do not chase them to the gates. Do not tempt the gods. Return once the fire dies. But Patroclus feels the flame behind him and something rising in his chest that is not fear. It is something heavier. And the field waits for what comes next. The wall falls. Not with whispers. Not with time. But with a shout. Hector hurls the first stone. It strikes the gate like thunder, cracks bronze and oak, splits the air itself. Behind him, the Trojans rise like flame. Chariots churn the dust. Swords flash like sea light. The wall breaks. The Greeks, once proud behind their fortress of stakes and trench, now stand in open air, exposed, brittle, bare. The ships lie behind them. The sea behind that. There is nowhere left to run. And Hector does not stop. He is no longer just a prince. He is momentum. He is fury made flesh. His spear finds bodies. His eyes find cowards. He presses until the first Greek hull is kissed by fire. Smoke rises. It curls into the sky, black and cruel, visible from every corner of Troy. The ships burn. The vessels that once brought pride now melt into the sand, their sails curling like leaves in flame. In the Greek camp, the high kings shout but no one listens. Agamemnon falters. Menelaus weeps. Even Ajax, the tower of flesh, is driven back step by step. They scream for help. They scream for Achilles. But he does not come. Only one man stands now with armor that glows gold in the sun. But it is not Achilles. It is Patroclus. He straps the greaves. He binds the cuirass. He lifts the helmet, the horsehair plume shadowing his face. And the Myrmidons gather. They see the armor, not the man. They follow. Achilles gave warnings. Do not chase them to the gates. Do not tempt the gods. Return once the fire dies. But Patroclus feels the flame behind him, and something rising in his chest that is not fear. It is something heavier. And the field waits for what comes next. The sky above the sea is black with smoke. Greek ships crackle in the distance, sails curling, timbers splitting like old bone. And Achilles sits unmoved, legs crossed, gaze fixed on the horizon. He hears the screams but lets them pass like wind. His armor lies untouched. His hands stay still. Then Patroclus enters. Not like a warrior. Not like a prince. But like a man carrying the weight of 1,000 dying friends on his back. He does not bow. He does not shout. He speaks. You are stronger than all of them. Faster. Blessed. Yet you sit while they die. Achilles does not turn. Patroclus steps forward, voice cracking like driftwood in fire. I have seen Nestor bleeding. I saw Diomedes fall. Even Ajax cannot hold the line. He kneels now, dust clinging to his knees. If your pride cannot yield, let me go in your place. Let me wear your armor. Let them believe the storm has returned. Achilles speaks. His voice is low, flat, final. They stole my prize. They dishonored me. Let them see what their arrogance earns. Patroclus presses. It is not about Agamemnon. It is about them. About the oaths we swore. About the men who bled beside us. He places a hand on Achilles' knee. The gesture is not strategic. It is human. If I go, they may think it's you. The fear alone could drive Troy back. And if I fall knowing I tried. Finally Achilles looks at him. Eyes like winter stone. He says nothing for a while. Then slowly, almost unwillingly, he nods. He stands. He opens the lid of the bronze chest. And lifts the armor. Piece by piece he hands it to his friend. But do not chase them. Do not climb their walls. Return when the fire dies. Patroclus nods. I will. He lies. But only fate knows that. The chest opens like a tomb. And inside, bronze that once burned in Hephaestus' forge. A shield that sang with storms. Greaves that had crossed half the known world. This was not armor. This was a name. This was Achilles. And now it would be worn by Patroclus. He does not rush. Each piece is lifted with reverence as if it might vanish under careless hands. First the greaves, their golden bands biting into his legs like prophecy. Then the breastplate, heavy, too heavy, pressing on his ribs like a voice he cannot silence. Then the sword belt, still smelling of salt and war. And at last the helmet. He lifts it slowly. The plume shivers even though there is no wind. He sets it on his head and he disappears. No longer a man. Now a mirage. Now a ghost wearing Achilles' shadow. Outside, the Myrmidons gather. They see the armor and they do not question. They cheer. They howl. They raise their spears and beat them on their shields. Achilles has returned, they believe. But the gods know better. So does the sea. And somewhere above it all, fate stirs. Not to stop him. Only to watch. The sky has not changed. But the battlefield feels different. Because now, from the edge of the camp, the Myrmidons charge. Black-armored. Eyes rimmed with fire. Loyal only to one name, and they believe he rides again. At their head, a figure cloaked in gold. Horsehair plumes slicing the wind. Shield flashing like a second sun. Spear raised, the very image of wrath itself. The Trojans freeze. They see the armor and they remember. Achilles, the breaker of lines. The slayer of Hector's kin. The son of the sea goddess. He has returned. They do not wait to see the face. They run. Patroclus does not scream. He does not boast. He simply advances and the earth yields beneath him. He strikes first at Sarpedon's line. The Lycian ranks fold inward. Spears shatter. Shields crack. Sarpedon, son of Zeus, fights bravely, but destiny is already leaning forward. Patroclus brings him down in a storm of blows. The body hits the dust. And somewhere Zeus turns his head. The Greeks rally. They pour in behind him, reigniting the fire at the ships. They push back through the smoke, reclaiming broken barricades. Bodies fall like sheaves. The tide turns like the sea. Men call his name Achilles. Achilles. And Patroclus says nothing. He wears the name like armor. He fights with borrowed thunder. But inside him he is still the boy beside the true flame. Still Patroclus. He pushes them all the way back past the flames, across the plain to the very edge of Troy. The gates rise before him. But so does fate. He was never meant to reach the walls. Achilles said it plainly. Drive them from the ships. But do not chase them to the gates. Do not tempt the gods. But Patroclus does not stop. He feels the armor burning on his skin, feels the Myrmidons behind him roaring with every step. He sees Trojans fleeing. He sees glory ahead and grief behind. So he rides forward. And the gates of Troy rise before him like a tombstone. He kills again. And again. Even Cebriones, Hector's own kin, falls beneath his spear, skull dashed in the dust. The gods begin to watch more closely. Then comes Apollo. Not in rage, not in storm, but in silence. A whisper behind the veil. He strikes from behind, not to kill, but to undo. A hand to the back. A blow unseen. Armor loosened. Strength unmoored. Patroclus staggers. His sword falls. His vision swims. The god does not speak. Only retreats, letting the mortals finish what he began. Then comes Euphorbus. A lesser name. A passing shadow. His spear finds flesh first, a shallow wound, a warning cut. Patroclus stumbles. And that's when Hector arrives. The prince of Troy sees the man. Sees the armor. Sees the name but not the face. He does not know who fights him. Only what the armor means. He shouts, "At last, Achilles, we end this." And he strikes. A clean blow. A spear through the belly. Bronze cracking bone. Patroclus falls. Dust in his mouth. Blood in his hands. He gasps and speaks. "It wasn't you. It was the god. And death is coming for you too, Hector. At the hands of the man whose name you wear." The light leaves him. The armor is pulled from his corpse. Hector wears it, believing he has killed Achilles. But the gods are now watching something else. Far away by the sea, Achilles feels the world break. He does not speak. He does not blink. He only stands. And the armor he once wore now waits to be reforged. His rage is awake. And death will follow. You've walked with us through dust and ruin. You've stood beside heroes who lived for honor and died for love. You've heard the clash of gods, the silence of fate, and the voice of a man who chose rage over peace. If you've made it this far, thank you. Not just for watching but for remembering. Because these stories are not just old words. They're echoes of everything we still are. So if this moved you, if the fire of Troy still burns in your chest, subscribe. Keep the tale alive. Let others find it. Let this legacy carry on, past screens and silence. And if you still choose not to tell us why in the comments, we're listening. Because every war leaves ghosts. And every viewer becomes a witness.